Most marriages are full of deception, which was the case of Igwe and Chisom. Now, Igwe got married to Chisom with the mind that because Chisom had mentioned in one of their conversations that she was AA, that her genotype was AA. So Igwe was calm. He was like, no problem, that even though his own genotype is not AA, once an AS or SS marries an AA, there is no problem. Their children will be fine. So that was how they did not go into doing genotype to check all of those things. Sometimes when all these churches demand for these things, some people think it's because they are becoming overbearing. That's why they are doing these things. So Chisom had told the guy, and the guy went ahead. They did their introduction, white and all that. They did their marriage. They went to court and did marriage. So when the Chisom, because she knows that she's not AA, she just likes the guy and decided that she was going to marry the guy. So, and they did their wedding. Everything was fine. They had gotten married already. So, each time she took in, she did something that was very strange. She took in for the first child, and she exchanged the baby in the hospital. And she had a nurse that was helping her to do, to hatch all this kind of wickedness. So she had a nurse in the hospital where she would change the baby, and they change the baby at the point of cleaning, and they will usually tell her to come each time there's something the woman will give her, the nurse will give her. Like if her EDD was a particular time, the nurse will now wait till that period where her EDD is and ensure that the labor room was jam-packed. So she will definitely tell her that period they will come. So she's always having her children in a very rowdy labor center. So that day happened now. They exchanged the baby and gave her another baby, and now carried her own child, that is sickle cell patient, and gave to another couple. So they took the baby home. So, and the funny thing is, through the person's file, she kept, she kept the person's address so that in case of anything, she'll know where her own children are. People, So that time passed. 3 years later, the baby was already 3 years. She took in again and gave birth to another child. And the thing is, whenever she gives birth, the child she gave birth to, if it's a boy, she's going to exchange it for a boy. If it's a girl, she's going to exchange it for a girl. So she did that. And when after this one was now 2 years, she took in. It wasn't up to 3 years like the first child. She took in and still did the exchange. And the funny thing is that because the nurse was still working in that hospital and they've been working hand in hand to do this kind of deal, nobody could catch her or nobody could see what they are doing, because if she needed information from the mothers of this exchange babies, she got it easily because she has because she had somebody who is an insider while they plan to do this. So another time came again. She did, this was like the fourth baby. She did the same thing. So when the husband was to go for posting outside the country, and normally if you are working for the government and your establishment is all these big establishments and you are entitled to carry 4 children when traveling. Even your NHIS, you are entitled to register 4 children. And if you are adding any other person, you have to pay for that one every month or quarterly. So, and if you are traveling outside the country, you have to go with 4 children, except you don't have up to 4 children. So this man needed to do all the tests for his children to be able to present it to the office so that they will give approval. The reason they do this is so that you don't bring children that are not yours and begin to allow them, send them, because they are traveling outside, to use the opportunity to bring your sister's children. So they need to check if the children are yours. That was where wahala started. So they asked him to bring the children to the office clinic. They took the samples and did the test. They saw that the guy, it wasn't a DNA test at that time. It was just their genotype they were checking. So genotype, all those things. That was before they will proceed to doing the genotype, because that one, there's a way they do it to just show that these are his children, these are not his children. So he got to that point where they checked the genotype of the man. They checked the children's own and everything. because from what the wife is and what the husband is, the children are supposed to be sickle cell patients. So they discovered that the children were not, and they were not having matching genotype, nothing. So the man, they called him into the office and they spoke to him into the clinic office. So he said no, there must be a mistake. They should repeat it. Maybe they should go to another hospital. So they referred them to another hospital, still a government hospital, and they did the test, and it came out that the genotype did not match. So they asked the man to go and do a DNA, so that he should do it in a hospital of his choice, so that they will not feel that they are trying to do anything fishy. So he called the wife for a meeting around 2 a.m. and asked her a question. What's going on? Why are the children not genotype not matching? What's going on? The woman now said no, that it must be a mistake. He said, but he has been telling the woman all these things. So why is she saying it's a mistake? They've gone to how many hospitals? Why? He said no, that she didn't do anything. So the next thing they did was they went to do genotype for the woman to check for to show if she's the mother of the children. They checked. She was not the mother of the children. They checked the man. He was not the mother of the children. They checked each child. None of them matched, meaning that each child belonged to different fathers and mothers, not them. So the man now said they went to the hospital where the woman used to give birth. They saw that she actually gave birth. They saw that she actually did scan, and she was pregnant. It's not like it was a fake pregnancy. She did scan. She had a male child. Yes, it's reported a male child. So how come the children are not? So the woman now said maybe when she gave birth, they mistakenly swapped the children. The people in the hospital and the husband and a lot of people that were there, they said, but at least if they have swapped a child, it will be one child. But when it becomes 1, 2, 3, 4 children, then there's a problem. That was how the woman said no, that that's not the point. So the man now called for a family meeting. He told the parents of the girl, and they said this is too much for them to handle. So they went to their king, which is their Igwe, told the king, and the king now asked the woman what happened. The woman could not say the truth. So the king now said that they're going to bring the Ono, like all these spiritual people, traditional spiritual people, that she's going to swear. So when she heard that she was going to swear, and she knows that if she swears, she's going to run mad, she said, okay, she will talk. So she said that is a nurse that is helping her do this thing in that hospital. Then they asked her to call the nurse. She said, okay. They said she should put it on speaker. She now said no, that she won't be able to put it on speaker. They said put it on speaker. So she put it on speaker. Immediately she called the nurse and introduced herself. That see the problem that they are trying to find out what. Immediately she hung the call. They called her back. She said she doesn't know the woman. The nurse changed the whole story that she doesn't know her from anywhere. They said, but she was the one that helped her to do all of this. She said no, that she doesn't know the woman. This is how the back and forth started. So the Igwe now decided to tell them that they should take the woman to the evil forest. These things, take her to the evil forest. The evil forest is a place that we watch it on TV. We didn't believe that those things existed. So the woman now said no, that she will not be able to go to the evil forest. They now decided that, okay, do you know these women that you carried your exchanges children for? She said yes, that the nurse used to help her to keep contact with these people. Like she got their file numbers. That's, in every file, a woman going for antenatal, she has where she writes her address and everything. Her address, her phone number, and all, she has it. That was how this man took some people, went with them. They went to each family and they were retrieving his own children and dropping their own babies. They did that till when they were done, the man now said he was done with the marriage, that he's not going to go into this marriage. So he eventually went for the trip, the official trip alone. So the only thing he did was he was always sending monies to the woman to take care of these children, but he had nothing to do with the children again. He cut ties with the woman and the children. But people now intervened and asked, they had to tell him that since those are his children, because every family they went to retrieve these babies, they were not, the children looked different from their own biological children. So that's to show you how a lot of things are happening in hospitals. They looked different from the biological children. So immediately they came to return their own children, they had this peace that no wonder this child was always looking different. So the lady now started begging that she wants to go back into the marriage. The Igwe now said he will not know how to keep his face to talk to the man after all what she had done to the man, that at least if you know that your genotype does not match from the beginning, tell the man. But because you said you were AA, the man left it. And even if you eventually give birth to a sickle cell baby, you should have still told your husband, instead of going to this length of causing pains for other families, because those families were always taking these children to the hospital, but they did not know what was happening to the children. They didn't know what was really going on. They just take the children to the hospital, checking on them, and they are the only children that were always sick. Their other children were not sick, and they never occurred to them to even check their genotype, because they felt that all the children were the same. They didn't know that they weren't the same. So this woman was begging and begging. So the man said no, he cannot continue in that marriage. And that was how the children stayed, to the point that she could not have money. She didn't even have money to take them to the hospital whenever they fell sick. So the man sent money to her so that they could get a bone transplant for them, a bone marrow transplant. And they went to do the bone marrow transplant surgery. The man had gone on with his own life, but what he did was they held a meeting, he reconciled, he called his children after they had grown and told them everything their mother did, the deception in the marriage and all of that. And that was how the children forgave their father, and they were very upset with their mother. She apologized and they let